You will not believe what happens to the girl at the end. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can continue writing stories like this one. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Ada huddled beneath the fallen pine, the chill of the air pressing harder against her skin than the weight of her grief. Winter had settled into the wilderness like a heavy blanket, and she struggled to keep herself and her newborn twins warm. Each breath came out frosty, a reminder of how unforgiving nature could be. She tried to wrap her mind around the loss of her husband, not just a partner but also her protector in these wilds. He had ventured out one evening to gather firewood and never returned. Ada's heart felt as frozen as the landscape surrounding her. As she cradled her children close, she couldn't shake the feeling that despair was seeping into her very bones. The twins, Clara and Joseph, needed warmth and food, but every day was a battle against the elements and deep sorrow. Ada made small fires, gathering dry twigs and leaves, hoping to instill some life into their bleak situation. The flames danced in defiance of the cold, but stray thoughts of survival shadowed her every gesture. With each passing day, Ada felt weaker. There were moments when she questioned whether it was worth fighting for a future in this harsh world. The sounds of winter filled her ears, crunching snow, distant animal calls, and her own quiet sobs creating a melody of loneliness that lingered in the air like a ghost. Still, she couldn't let despair swallow her whole. Clara and Joseph relied on her. In this desolate place, survival hinged not only on finding food but also on maintaining hope amid overwhelming sorrow. As days turned to weeks, Ada's spirit glimmered with the tiniest flicker of resolve. She would protect her children at all costs, no matter how fierce the storm or biting the frost. Little did she know that someone was drawing closer to their hidden shelter, guided by a glimmer of smoke rising through the trees, a beacon of life against a backdrop of frostbitten grief. The forest around Ada was a realm of stark contrasts, where the beauty of nature collided with its brutal realities. Towering pine trees, their branches heavy with snow, stood like sentinels over the frozen ground, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch into eternity. The air was sharp and biting, each breath a reminder of how relentless winter could be. Frost clung to every surface, turning blades of grass into fragile crystals and blanketing the world in a shimmering white. In this cold expanse, isolation enveloped Ada like a thick fog. The sounds of the wilderness felt distant, muffled by layers of snow. The lonely calls of birds echoed through the trees, yet they offered no comfort, only a reminder of what she had lost. Each crackle from her small fire punctuated the silence, but it did little to chase away the shadows of despair that loomed over her heart. As she cradled Clara and Joseph against her chest, their tiny bodies shivered in the frigid air. The chill seeped beneath her layers of worn clothing, a cruel reminder that warmth was scarce in this unforgiving place. Time passed slowly. Days melted into nights, marked only by the pale light of the sun rising and falling behind the thick canopy of branches above. Every gust of wind felt like an unwelcome hand gripping her tighter as she fought against the encroaching darkness within her soul. Ada often gazed out into the endless white, feeling swallowed by her grief and loneliness. She would close her eyes and imagine a life filled with laughter and love, a life that now seemed impossibly far away. Yet amid this desolation, there had to be hope somewhere beneath the frost. Ada clung fiercely to that flicker as she tended to her fire, determined that neither nature nor despair would extinguish it completely. Somewhere out there, beyond the trees and ice, perhaps a savior was searching for her, a thought that breathed life into her weary spirit even as the frost bit deeper than her grief. Each day in the unforgiving wilderness felt like a relentless uphill climb for Ada. With Clara and Joseph needing her full attention, every moment was consumed by their cries for nourishment and warmth. The harsh winter made finding food increasingly difficult. Snow covered the ground like a thick blanket, hiding any potential sources of sustenance. She ventured outside only when she could muster the courage, wrapping herself in layers of rough fabric, feeling the weight of the cold seep through with every step. Ada often spent hours searching for whatever scraps she could find, roots buried under frost or the few berries still clinging to their bushes. Once she managed to catch a glimpse of a rabbit darting between trees, but her frozen fingers fumbled as she attempted to set a trap. In her heart, each failure felt like another nail in the coffin of her dwindling hope, yet the wails of her infants urged her onward, reminding her that they depended solely on her. When she returned to their shelter after these fruitless expeditions, Ada's mind raced through ideas for keeping them warm. She would gather more dry twigs and branches for the fire, constantly tending to its flickering flame as it fought against the creeping cold. Sometimes when hunger gnawed at her belly, all she had was the sight and sound of the fire to comfort her, its crackles providing a momentary distraction from despair. As night fell and darkness enveloped their haven, the loneliness tightened its grip around Ada. Looking into her twins' bright eyes had become a fragile lifeline, their innocence inspired strength in her weary heart. She would whisper stories of brighter days ahead, dreams filled with laughter echoing through fields rather than silence blanketed in snow. Every now and then truth crept back in, thoughts about her husband swept through like shadows, but Ada pushed them away to focus on Clara and Joseph. They were not just mirages of hope but living beings now entwined with her fate. Despite lacking food and warmth, Ada resolved that as long as she breathed kindling hope into their lives, there remained a chance for survival beyond winter's sharp bite. Meanwhile, deep in the heart of the woods, Luke Anders moved quietly among the towering pines, his keen eyes scanning the terrain. A seasoned trail scout, Luke was known for his remarkable tracking skills and a heart full of compassion for those who found themselves lost or in need. His life revolved around exploring the vast wilderness, understanding its many secrets, and offering assistance to any stray souls he encountered along the way. Today, he ventured out on a mission to map new trails and observe signs of wildlife for upcoming hunting seasons. But as he walked beneath the heavy snow-laden branches, something unusual caught his attention. A faint wisp of smoke rising against the backdrop of white. Intrigued and concerned, he altered his path to investigate. The flicker of smoke suggested not just warmth but the possibility of life that might be struggling in the harshness of winter. Luke's instincts kicked in as he approached the source. He felt an urgency to reach whoever was there. That gentle curl of smoke signaled someone might need help. As he navigated through the thick underbrush, his thoughts wandered back to times when he had aided others. Families trapped by weather or travelers lost in the dark, and how each encounter made his own existence richer. No matter how rugged the wilderness was, Luke believed people were worth saving. The forest's beauty could hide dangers that took many lives, and he had made it his purpose to combat that loneliness with kindness. With every step closer, Luke felt the weight of responsibility settling on him like a familiar cloak. What other stories awaited him in this unyielding landscape? He quickened his pace, driven by a silent promise: if someone needed a helping hand today, he would be that hand. As he neared the faint smoke source, an uneasy feeling mixed with hope swelled within him, a belief that perhaps this time would be different, that he could make a difference where it mattered most. As Luke continued his trek through the snowy forest, the wisp of smoke grew clearer, curling upwards like a whispering ghost amid the stark white surroundings. He paused, instinctively attuning his senses to the sounds around him. The crackling of the fire became more distinct, mingling with the soft rustle of the wind through the branches. With each step, a mixture of curiosity and concern filled his heart. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone might be desperately in need. Drawing closer, he felt the heat of the fire before he saw it, an inviting glow amidst the oppressive cold. The sight of smoke was often a beacon, signaling life and warmth in a place where survival was a daily struggle. Luke's intuition told him that finding a fire in such desolate conditions likely meant someone had taken refuge there. It sparked a deeper sense of urgency within him. He had to reach whoever was tending to that flame. He expertly navigated through the underbrush, his mind racing with possibilities. Was it a hunter seeking shelter from the storm? A lost traveler trying to find their way home? Or perhaps someone even more vulnerable? The thought of a family trapped in the wilderness tugged at his heartstrings, igniting a fierce determination to offer assistance. As he neared the clearing, the smoke thickened and he caught a glimpse of movement. A small figure bent over the fire. His breath caught in his throat as concern tightened its grip on him. He recalled countless stories he had heard about those who perished alone in the woods, victims of despair or misfortune. But this time he felt hope rising within him. Perhaps he could change that fate. With every cautious step forward, he reminded himself that every life mattered, especially in this harsh world. If there was indeed someone there who needed help, Luke would ensure they weren't left to face winter's wrath alone. He took a deep breath and stepped into the clearing, ready to offer his hand to whoever awaited him in that fragile moment between warmth and despair. As Luke emerged from the thicket of trees, he stepped into a small clearing where the fire crackled warmly against the cold backdrop of snow and ice. His heart raced at the sight before him. A makeshift campsite nestled beneath an old pine tree, with a thin blanket draped over a rough-hewn log. But more importantly, he saw Ada, her weary face illuminated by the flickering flames, cradling two tiny bundles close to her chest. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as shock washed over them both. Luke's breath caught in his throat at the sight of this woman and her newborn twins, their faces pale against the harsh winter landscape. He could scarcely believe that life persisted here in this desolate place. It felt like stumbling upon a mirage in an endless sea of white. Ada's eyes widened in disbelief as she registered the figure before her, unsure whether she was dreaming or if salvation had finally arrived. "Who are you?" Ada whispered, her voice trembling with both fear and hope. She instinctively shifted closer to the fire, trying to shield Clara and Joseph from this unexpected visitor. "I'm Luke," he replied softly, stepping forward cautiously to avoid startling her further. "I saw the smoke and came to see if someone needed help." Relief flooded through him as he realized they were not alone. There was life amidst the bleakness of winter. Ada's gaze shifted between Luke and her children, feeling an overwhelming wave of gratitude wash over her. "You found us," she breathed out, tears brimming in her eyes as the weight of solitude began to lift ever so slightly. The warmth emanating from Luke felt like a beacon guiding her back from despair. In that fragile moment, they shared an unspoken understanding. Two souls brought together by fate amidst the frozen wilderness. Luke knelt down closer to the fire, ready to offer any assistance needed, while Ada's heart surged with renewed hope. It was as if the forest itself exhaled in relief, welcoming this chance encounter that could change everything for them all. As the warmth of the fire flickered between them, Ada felt a wave of vulnerability wash over her. The reality of her situation poured out in a rush as she began to share her story with Luke. "It all happened so fast," she said, her voice trembling slightly as she held Clara and Joseph closer. "My husband went out one day to gather firewood, and he never came back. I don't know what happened to him." Luke listened intently, his heart aching for her loss. He could see the pain etched on her face, the way it transformed into fear as she spoke about her twins. "I thought I could manage on my own," Ada continued, tears glistening in her eyes. "But the cold, it's so unforgiving. Every day has been a fight for survival, finding food, staying warm." She glanced at her children, their little faces nestled against her shoulder, and sorrow filled her chest. "I worry they won't have a future if things don't change soon," she confessed softly. "What if they grow up without knowing love or safety? I can't let that happen." Luke felt a surge of compassion for this brave woman who had endured so much yet still held onto hope for her children's future. He reached out gently, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone anymore," he said firmly, determined to offer whatever help he could provide. They huddled together by the fire, its glow casting soft shadows on their faces, while they exchanged stories about lost opportunities and dreams dashed by adversity. In sharing their burdens, a bond began to form between them. Two souls connected by longing and resilience amid the harsh realities of life. As Ada spoke of loving memories with her husband and dreams for Clara and Joseph's lives ahead, Luke vowed silently to help them realize those dreams. Together, they might ignite a spark of hope that could light their way through the darkest times. Not just for themselves but for one another. The storm outside raged on, but within that small circle of warmth and understanding, something beautiful was beginning to bloom amidst the frostbitten landscape, a promise of new beginnings forged through empathy and compassion. As the fire crackled warmly between them, Luke's mind raced with thoughts of what he could do to help Ada and her twins. He had seen how quickly winter's grasp could tighten around those unprepared for its fury, and he knew that every moment counted. "I can't leave you like this," he said decisively. "I'll head back to my cabin and bring back food and supplies. You need more than just a fire to get through this." Ada looked up at him, her eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and gratitude. "You would do that for us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The thought that someone would go out of their way to help her was almost too much to comprehend. But in that moment, it felt like a lifeline. "I promise I will be back," Luke assured her, feeling the weight of responsibility settle firmly on his shoulders. He stood up, brushing off the snow from his clothes as he prepared to set off into the cold once more. Before leaving, he took a moment to gather dry branches and stoke the fire one last time, ensuring that Ada and the twins would stay warm while he was away. As he walked back through the snow-laden trees, thoughts of shared hardships filled his mind. He recalled his own struggles, moments when he had felt alone in the vast wilderness, battling nature and fear. Now he felt a deeper connection to Ada. Their experiences were threads woven into a larger tapestry of survival. When Luke reached his cabin, he moved quickly, gathering whatever food he could find: dried meats, some preserved vegetables, and extra blankets. He also packed a small pot for cooking and a few tools that might help Ada in her struggles. With each item he added to his pack, he felt a surge of determination to bring hope back to their fragile situation. After what felt like an eternity, Luke made his way back to the campsite, driven by the thought of Ada and her twins. As he stepped into the clearing again, the warmth of the fire juxtaposed against the biting cold outside felt like a warm embrace. He found Ada waiting anxiously, her expression shifting from worry to relief as she saw him return with supplies in hand. In that moment, trust blossomed between them, a bond forged in adversity, hope beginning to take root amidst the stark reality of their world. As the last remnants of harsh winter faded, spring breathed new life into the once barren landscape. The sun began to cast warm rays through the trees, coaxing tender shoots from the ground and bringing vibrant colors back to the world. For Ada, this change heralded a new beginning, not just for herself but for Clara and Joseph as well. With Luke's unwavering support, she felt the heavy burden of survival slowly lifting, replaced by the promise of growth and healing. Luke had settled into a routine at Ada's side, using his skills to mend their shelter and gather resources from the surrounding woods. He taught her how to forage for wild vegetables and identify edible roots, transforming her understanding of the land around them. Together, they planted seeds in a small clearing near the campsite, nurturing them with hopes for a bountiful harvest. As they worked, a family dynamic started to unfold. Luke often played with Clara and Joseph, making them laugh as he pretended to be clumsy or told them tales of adventure in the woods. His gentle nature made them feel safe, while his presence brought joy into Ada's home that had felt so empty for too long. In moments where laughter filled the air, she could almost forget her past pain, an increasingly rare gift. With each passing day, Ada found herself blooming alongside the budding flowers surrounding them. She painted little stones with bright colors for Clara and Joseph to play with and shared stories with them as they gathered around the fire at night. In these simple moments, she rediscovered joy and hope, a stark contrast to the fears that had once gripped her heart. As spring advanced, names were etched on Luke's cabin doorframe, 2 tiny names for Clara and Joseph and 1 elegantly scripted name for Ada herself. This small act symbolized more than just their presence, it forged a bond of family amid adversity. Together, they faced challenges with renewed strength, cementing their newfound unity in a world that had once felt so isolating. Amidst blooming life and growing trust, they understood that they were no longer alone in their struggles. Their story was becoming one of resilience and love. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, warm light filtered through the trees, illuminating the cabin's doorframe where 3 names now graced its surface. Each name told a story and represented a life intertwined with love, hardship, and hope. The tiny etchings for Clara and Joseph stood alongside Ada's elegantly scripted name, marking a profound shift in their lives, one that transformed them from strangers to a family united by circumstance. Luke took a moment to admire the doorframe, feeling a swell of pride wash over him. The act of inscribing their names was more than just a symbol, it embodied the bond they had formed through shared struggles and support. It represented their journey from desolation to resilience, ushered in by spring's promise of renewal. Ada often caught herself gazing at the names, her heart swelling with gratitude. Each time she looked at them, she felt their community strengthen, reminding her that she wasn't alone anymore. Luke had not only stepped into her life as a savior but had also become an integral part of their little family's story. As she prepared meals filled with fresh greens from their newly planted garden, she found a sense of normalcy blooming amidst the chaos of her past. One afternoon, while they gathered around the fire, Ada listened as Luke recounted tales of other families he had helped along his journeys. Her laughter mingled with Joseph's coos and Clara's giggles, creating a symphony of joy that filled the air with warmth. "This will be a place for us," Luke said one evening, gesturing to the cabin as if it were an anchor in the tumultuous sea of life. "We can build our future here." Ada nodded, feeling the truth in his words resonate within her heart. With each passing day, they were shaping a home filled with laughter and dreams. Dreams that included Clara and Joseph growing up in a loving environment, rather than one marked by solitude and grief. Together, they nurtured not just seedlings in their garden but also hope within their hearts, solidifying the real meaning behind those names etched on the doorframe. Love grows stronger when shared. In this small forest haven, they were truly becoming a family ready to meet whatever challenges lay ahead together. In the heart of the wilderness, where nature proved both beautiful and brutal, the journey of Ada and her twins unfolded into a tale of resilience, hope, and unexpected connections. The frigid winter that once threatened to destroy them had transformed into a vibrant spring filled with possibility. It was within this raw landscape that their stories intertwined with Luke's, revealing the strength found in unity during desperate times. The forest, once a place of solitude and despair for Ada, had become a nurturing home filled with laughter and love. As she watched Clara and Joseph grow under Luke's gentle guidance, Ada realized that their survival was not solely about enduring hardship but also about embracing life's chances for joy. Each day brought new challenges, yet they faced them together, forging an unbreakable bond that transcended their individual struggles. Luke's arrival was a turning point, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, help can arrive from the most unexpected places. His compassion not only provided physical support but also emotional healing for Ada. Together, they cultivated a refuge where resilience triumphed over grief, transforming their pain into purpose. The act of etching their names on the cabin doorframe became a testament to their collective strength and newfound family dynamics. As they nurtured their garden and shared dreams around the firelight, Ada felt hope blossom in her heart. It was a hope rooted in love, the understanding that they could rebuild their lives amidst nature's embrace. In each giggle from Joseph and twinkle in Clara's eyes, she saw reflections of her late husband's spirit, reminding her that love never truly fades. Through enduring hardships together and supporting one another through vulnerabilities, Ada and Luke learned that relationships built on trust could withstand any storm. In this corner of the world where frost once threatened to chill their spirits, warmth now thrived between them, a testament to resilience in its purest form. Together with Clara and Joseph, they became a symbol of what it means to rise above adversity, discovering that when faced with life's harshest challenges, love can illuminate even the darkest paths ahead.